A woman once came to me very disturbed. No matter what she did, her day always turned out to be one of those I woke up on the wrong side of the bed days. She would often feel grumpy, irritable, or just plain out of it. She'd find herself at random points throughout her day feeling anxious for no reason she could point a finger at. She came to me because she wanted to learn how to feel good a lot of the time. I taught her about the two dimensions. One is the creative dimension, the other, the passive dimension. In the creative dimension, you are a deliberate thinker. You are in flow. You're inspired. You take action. Things are happening. You're tapped into your potential. You're living from your highest self. You feel good. You are a co-creator in control of how you respond to your thoughts, and you're better able to manage your emotions in the creative dimension. In the passive dimension, you create by default. Things happen to you. You feel blah. You lack energy and inspiration and desire. You've lost hope and you feel like your emotions are running the show. You feel bad. You are under the impression that you have no control over your thoughts and emotions in the passive dimension. In the creative dimension, you are a deliberate thinker. In the passive dimension, you create by default. Think back to a time in your life when you wanted something very badly and you got it. I always think back to the day when my kids were born or my wedding day. My husband and kids all became manifest, I'm convinced, as a result of my knowing what I want and why I want it. I took action and proactively trained my mind to drop the load of resistance. Resistance is what we feel when we think any thought that tries to convince us that we cannot have our desire manifested. I'll say that again. Resistance is what we feel when we think any thought that tries to convince us that we cannot have our desire manifested. When manifesting my family, I was tapped into the creative dimension. I was a deliberate thinker. I can also think back, though, to a time when a company reached out to me as a potential prospect. They wanted me to speak to their 500 employees about manifestation at their upcoming fun day. They were interviewing a handful of people for this role, and at the time, I was at the beginning of my coaching career. The pay was going to be more than anything I ever thought I deserved at the time. They were even willing to fly me to an exotic location and cover all my expenses. I was really excited about the opportunity, to say the least. It was going to be a gem of an experience to add to my beginner's portfolio. Their fun day coordinator interviewed me for the role, and at the end of our conversation, I was feeling really good. She said, "Off the record, you sound perfect for this, and I'm pretty sure we're going to choose you, but I need to confirm with my boss. I'll get back to you in a week from now." Oh boy, that entire week of waiting, I was a puddle of anxiety. I really, really wanted the position. I remember checking my phone every minute to see if they'd gotten back to me. Crickets. Nothing. Zip. Zero. Zilch. 2 weeks went by and I still hadn't heard from them. Now I was starting to get really anxious. In the end, I decided to be proactive and I contacted the woman who interviewed me. She apologized for not getting back to me sooner and said that the company decided to completely eliminate a speaker for their fun day and do a completely different activity instead. I was really disappointed. Looking back at that experience, I realized later that I was creating by default. I was living in the passive dimension where, because I wasn't deliberately creating, life was happening to me. Had I shifted into the creative dimension, I would have been a deliberate thinker. That looks like me choosing how I respond to the situation. Did I want the position? Yes. Was I surrendered to the outcome? Absolutely not. My inner space was filled with feelings of control and worry. This is no inner space for manifesting. Control and worry blocks manifestations. Deliberate thinking would have looked more like, I release control. God knows what's best for me. Let me allow God into the driver's seat and go along for the ride. Would I have absolutely gotten the job had I shifted into the creative dimension? Maybe, maybe not. But one thing is certain. In the creative dimension, you feel better, you're more relaxed, and you trust in whatever comes. And if it doesn't work out in the end, you know that God has a reason and you can relax into that knowing. Sharing is caring, so if you liked what you heard, pay it forward. Share this with a friend. And as always, happy manifesting.